Today, we're digging into how one of fantasy's most legendary characters was really forged. And it didn't happen in some epic battle or at a grand coronation. Nope, it happened at her wedding. A truly terrifying ceremony that, honestly, should have completely broken her. So how in the world does a brutal, bloody Dothraki wedding end up creating a queen?
I mean, this one line, it tells you everything you need to know. It's just tossed out there, like it's common knowledge. But for Daenerys, this is basically the mission statement for her new life. She's being thrown into a world so completely alien that brutal, casual violence isn't just okay. It's how they measure if you had a good time at a party.
All right, so how does Daenerys Targaryen even end up here? Well, the first part of the story is all about a political deal. A cold, hard transaction where she is quite literally the thing being sold.
I want you to just picture the scene for a second. We're not talking about a little wedding party. This is a full-on, occupying army. 40,000 warriors. They're just camped outside the city, building their own grass palaces, and basically eating the city dry. It just screams overwhelming, intimidating power. This is the culture she's about to be married into.
And this, right here, this is the heart of the problem. For her brother Viserys, this wedding is just simple math. Her body gets him an army to win back his throne. But for Daenerys, who's only 13 years old, it's the exact opposite. His greatest ambition is her absolute worst nightmare.
Viserys' arrogance is just off the charts. And man, is it a liability. He's completely disdainful of the very people he desperately needs to help him. He struts around calling himself the dragon, but all his impatience and entitlement does is make Dany's situation even more dangerous.
And this just says it all, doesn't it? You'd think she'd be having nightmares about Khal Drogo or his 40,000 warriors, but she's not. The dragon that haunts her dreams, the one who screams at her and hurts her, is her own brother. The monster she fears most isn't some stranger, it's her own family.
Okay, so let's move on to the wedding itself, because this is where that cultural whiplash really hits hard, and we see Daenerys at her absolute most alone. 12. That's how many men died at her wedding feast. Remember that saying, a Dothraki wedding without at least 3 deaths is deemed a dull affair? Well, by that standard, I guess you could say her wedding was a massive success. And the first death she sees is described with this sickeningly casual tone. A fight just breaks out over some woman, one man gets completely disemboweled, and they just drag the body away and the party keeps going. This is the new normal for her.
Can you even imagine how completely and utterly isolated she is? She's supposed to be the guest of honor, but she might as well be a ghost. She can't speak the language. The only person she knows, her brother, is sitting down below her, just stewing in his own anger. She is terrifyingly alone.
So what do you do in that kind of silent terror? She goes inward. She starts repeating this mantra to herself. And this isn't just her listing off her fancy titles. This is an act of pure survival. It's a desperate attempt to remind herself that she comes from a line of dragons, a line of power, even when she feels like she has absolutely none. It's the only armor she has.
But right here, in the middle of all this chaos, something starts to change. The traditional gift-giving part of the ceremony, it actually becomes this huge turning point. Every important gift she gets is like a tool for the person she's about to become.
So check this out. The gifts aren't just random stuff. They're like a roadmap for her entire journey. First, she gets books about the history of the 7 kingdoms, a connection to her past. Then she gets 3 handmaids, the help she needs to survive the present. And finally, she gets the big one, 3 petrified dragon eggs, a gift that points directly to her future.
And this description of the eggs, it's not just about the eggs. It's about her. They're like fossils, right? Relics from a power that's long dead, turned to stone. But even as stone, they have this incredible, burning beauty. There's a fire inside, just waiting for the right moment to wake up.
And that awakening, it starts in a really unexpected way. You'd think it would come from those magical eggs, right? Nope. It comes from a much more real, more immediate gift that gives her the first real taste of freedom she's ever had.
Khal Drogo himself gives her this stunning silver horse. Now this is a huge deal.
In a culture that values horses more than anything else, he's giving her one of the best. It's not just a present, it's a gift of real respect. It's him acknowledging her new status as his Khaleesi.
But just as she's feeling this tiny spark of something, her brother, Viserys, yanks her right back to reality. He literally digs his fingers into her leg and hisses this threat at her. He's reminding her in the cruelest way that her body is not her own. And just like that, the fear is back. But then, something amazing happens. She gets on that horse, and for a moment, just a moment, the thrill of it all completely washes away the fear. She feels this incredible rush of power, of speed. She even makes the horse leap over a fire pit. And in that one tiny, daring moment, she discovers she has a will of her own, a freedom she has never ever felt before. Okay, this brings us to the final trial of the day, the wedding night. Everything has been building up to this moment of absolute terror. But what happens next? Well, it's not what anyone would expect. So there she is. She's ridden away from the noise and the chaos of the camp, and she's alone with this giant warrior king she doesn't know who doesn't speak her language. The question just hangs in the air. Her question. After all the brutality she's witnessed today, what is he going to do to her out here, all alone under the stars? And then, the very last thing you'd expect. She starts to cry. But he doesn't get angry. He doesn't get forceful. He just looks at her tears and says, no. It is the first word he has ever spoken to her. And it's not a denial of her. It's a denial of her fear. And that one word changes everything. What happens next is this bizarre, quiet negotiation. When he tries to undress her and she tries to cover herself, he gently pulls her hands away and says, no, again. And then she says it back to him. It's not her defying him. It's like she's agreeing with him, rejecting her own shame. They're literally building a language with a single word. And it all leads up to this, her final word of the night. After he has shown her tenderness instead of brutality, he looks at her, and it's like he's asking a question without words. And her reply, yes, is maybe the first truly consensual act of her entire life. She takes his hand, she guides him, she's an active participant now, not a victim.
So that leaves us with a pretty big question, doesn't it? She was sold like an animal, she was forced to endure a wedding that was basically a bloodbath and was given to a man she was terrified of. And yet, through a series of completely unexpected moments, a horse, a kind word, a gentle touch, she somehow found her own power. So you have to wonder, was this brutal, horrifying transaction, against all odds, the very moment a queen was actually born?